We've taken a look at a couple handheld emulators here, and I've been pretty impressed with them. However, I want to talk about two that you should absolutely avoid that I've seen on TikTok Shop, AliExpress, Amazon, eBay, etc. The first one here has a great name of the Gamebox Plus, which you can see on TikTok Shop for $12.90 plus $8 shipping, but it's actually about $5 on AliExpress here. In fact, the one here only cost me about $3.59, and you can tell with the way that this thing feels, it is cheap. Turning this thing on, you'll be greeted with a screen that gives you the option to select Chinese or English. If you select either of them, it'll give you a bunch of options here, 401. We're going to select Contra, and it's funny because that's actually like a Contra 12 in one here. Let's go ahead and remove the protective film here to see how the screen actually looks, and I even scratched it with my fingernail there. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a viewing angle check, and yeah, there's a little bit of discoloration as you look around, but I'd have to say it's at least usable, and it is bright. But it doesn't matter how good the screen is when the controls just feel terrible like they do here. It is awful. It is so squishy, and it just doesn't feel responsive. So yeah, this thing is just not that good. At $20, this thing is absolutely a ripoff, and the only reason I could see myself using this, even at $4 or $5, is maybe letting the kids play with it to get used to some older games on the go, or if I wanted to test out some CRTs or AV inputs, I can just throw this in the car and have it ready when I want it to. Next up, we have the game console, or often referred to as the X6. I saw it on the TikTok Shop for $29.41 before shipping, and I actually found it on AliExpress for $15.82 shipped to me. Getting this thing out of the box here, I have to give it some credit because it at least has a pretty darn big screen. Like, that is a large display, especially for 15 bucks. Once it's in the hands, though, this thing feels, again, just super cheap. It's like a hollow body. It doesn't feel like there's anything inside of it. The buttons on this thing are somehow worse than the $4 system we just looked at. I don't know how to describe it except for that the buttons are both smaller and longer than something like on the Miu Mini Plus here. Like, you can see by standing them side to side that there's just a longer travel, which makes them feel wobblier and just gross to push down. These are some of the worst buttons I've ever used. It doesn't get much better when you start using these analog sticks that are included for some reason. This thing doesn't even do 3D, so I'm not really sure why they have them on there. And the shoulder buttons are so clicky and so hard to push down. They are awful. All of the buttons on this thing are just terrible. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on so you can take a look at the operating system in the screen here as well. And that little LED, it is super small, but it is pointed right at you, and it is so bright. It's like shining a laser in your eyes. There's no redeeming qualities. Look at the screen here too. The viewing angles for it are just terrible unless you're bang on. It's almost insulting that this thing is about 3 to 4 times as much as the little game box here, and it has such a worse screen. And while this does have some kind of operating system, you can put on music and videos and pictures or ebooks if you wanted to. And it does have a browser there, but that's actually just a file directory. It's not like a web browser. Now, I could be wrong here, but I don't believe there's any form of search. I tried finding one and I couldn't. So if you want to play a game, you're just going to have to go down this list. And it's not even in alphabetical order. So good luck. You're just going to have to read every title to try and find the one that you're looking for. Alright, we're finally loaded into a game here, Sonic the Hedgehog, one of my favorites, and if you can see it here, this thing runs like butts. It is not playing at the right frame rate. It's dropping frames, it's chugging, it's not able to keep up. This is a Sega Genesis game. Something that could have been emulated easily on phones from 15 years ago is struggling on this little handheld device. I mean, just look at this. This isn't even slowed down footage, but it looks like it's running at half speed. It's awful. For what it's worth, it does have a save state feature built in, and as far as I can tell, it does work. I saved this about a week ago before testing, and the files are still there. But I don't know, man. What the hell are you going to do? You're actually going to play this? So the screen sucks, the controllers are terrible. Well, at least the audio... No, the audio sucks too. Listen to this. It's not even like it's in the right key. Ugh, it's like the speakers cracking and popping every time that you bounce in this game. The audio is so messed up. Oddly enough, besides the terrible controls and screen, the Game Boy Advance was probably the best running emulator on this system. I didn't really find any problems with it in my time playing Castlevania. Even with the Game Boy Advance emulator running well on this, I just cannot recommend this device at all. It is not good by any means, and I think that both of these devices are money that you're just wasting that you could use to buy something that's a lot better, like an Anbernic RG35XX or maybe even a Miu Mini. Cheers!